E.B. Hernandez stuff in California. We covered the transgender pitcher in Minnesota. We covered it everywhere. But now a major sports league, folks, the WNBA, is definitely threatened by, not just kids, but professional athletes. I'm talking about real grown men that played in WNBA. And WNBA players like Gabby Williams, Cheryl Reeves, other woke coaches were virtue signaling for the trans invasion. They didn't like.
The WNBA reportedly convened a meeting to address growing concerns over transgender participation in the league, following news that two former NBA players have identified as women and intend to enter the 2027 WNBA draft. This follows a broader pattern of similar developments across other sports over recent years, including cases involving athletes in swimming, track, and other leagues that have drawn public attention since around 2022.
Were virtue signaling for the trans invasion. They didn't like this. Sophie Cunningham said, yeah, I think women's sports should actually be for women, and I'm actually going to protect that. They didn't like that. They lost their minds. And now it's backfired on them as two former NBA players said, yeah, we're going to enter the 2027 WNBA draft. And now, since the WNBA has been in the spotlight, the WNBA came up with this quote-unquote task force.
The situation has put the WNBA in an uncomfortable spotlight, particularly after some players and coaches faced backlash for expressing support around inclusion policies, while others, such as Sophie Cunningham publicly stating she believes women's sports should remain reserved for biological women, faced criticism from within the league's more progressive circles. That tension has reportedly intensified now that actual professional-level male athletes have announced plans to enter the draft.
The WNBA came up with this quote-unquote task force, and they held a meeting yesterday. They were actually going to determine what is a woman. Now, that was just one of a few things, by the way. But rules in the WNBA, it does state that only women are eligible for the WNBA. But there's a problem. Since the WNBA is a woke activist league, they didn't specify what is a woman. Now, me and you.
In response to the controversy, a task force was formed and held a meeting aimed at addressing several issues, including how to define eligibility. Despite the league's existing rule limiting participation to women, there's reportedly no formal definition specifying what qualifies someone as a woman under that rule. A gap, critics argue, reflects the league's broader reluctance to take a clear stance, given its progressive positioning.
Now, me and you, we know exactly what a woman is. X chromosomes from birth. No gender identity, none of that stuff. I mean, guys, that stuff really didn't exist mainstream 20 years ago. It's here now, and it's definitely a threat to women's sports. It's been a threat. Like I said, we covered it, okay? However, this meeting yesterday that the WNBA had, it backfired.
Following the meeting, a statement was released.
It backfired. Anyway, they have no idea, folks, what is a woman. No idea whatsoever. So let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. Here we go. Right over here. WNBA has yet to determine what is a woman, slams bad faith efforts to marginalize others. Marginalize, folks. Yeah, this is a victimhood league, folks. A victimhood league.
It also stated there are currently no immediate eligibility matters affecting the league. Critics have seized on that lack of a firm definition, arguing it effectively leaves the door open for any player, regardless of biological sex, to participate, since no clear standard currently exists.
Victimhood league, folks. A victimhood league. Everybody's a victim. But this league, who the players are actually now making money. I mean, I think the average player is making, like $500,000 a year or something like that. Could be wrong. But it's a lot more than the $75,000 they were getting like last season. Okay? All that money, and they don't know what a woman is. Fascinating. Look here, it says, critics of the WNBA calling out its transgender policies.
Commentary compares average WNBA salaries now reportedly around $500,000 annually, up from roughly $75,000 previously, to G League salaries near $40,000, suggesting financial incentive alone could drive undefined eligibility rules to be exploited. Additional criticism, including commentary from Outkick's John Root, characterizes the league's approach as prioritizing alignment with its internal values over a straightforward biological or scientific standard, further fueling frustration that a clear answer wasn't provided despite ample opportunity.
Look here, it says critics of the WNBA calling out its transgender policies, or lack thereof, were slammed Wednesday for their hurtful, quote, bad faith in criticizing men claiming to be women so they can play in the league. Elite spokesperson said in a statement, everything is fine at the WNBA, and there is nothing for anyone to worry about. Going public with a call for calm hours after an anti-hate task force met virtually and canvassed a variety of topics, including
the overall sentiment expressed is disbelief that an issue considered self-evident,
social media vitriol, and transgender athletes. Discussions, meetings, quote, hard conversations, and committees were working at the WNBA to determine what a woman is and what is that type of woman would be eligible to become a WNBA player, as critics lined up to call out the procrastination, declaring the simple proviso, men should not compete in women's sports.
The WNBA is set to continue internal discussions next week regarding policies on transgender athlete participation, following weeks of public attention on the topic.
2027 WNBA draft. And also, Royce White, who my Houston Rockets actually drafted, he also declared for the WNBA draft. Now, all this virtue signaling, folks, the WNBA better draft these guys, because there's no doubt about it, they would actually be the best players in the WNBA. But guess what, folks? The WNBA is panicking. They're actually going to hold a meeting.
According to reporting from the Associated Press, WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert sent a memo to team executives on a recent Friday addressing questions the league has received about transgender participation in women's basketball.
Is panicking. They're actually going to hold a meeting to actually decide what is a woman. You can't make this up. So a women's basketball league with woman in the name, they don't know what a woman is. They sound like Ketanji Brown Jackson, folks. They really, really do. When Rhodes called me about this, I was like, what? Is this real? The Women's National Basketball Association doesn't know what a woman is, so now they have to define it? Even though their league rules...
In the memo, Engelbert wrote that she expected the topic to continue receiving significant attention and wanted to update teams on how the league office is approaching the conversation.
Doesn't know what a woman is, so now they have to define it? Even though their league rules actually say only women can play in the WNBA, but we know how that works. We know how that works. Because when it comes to the trans issue, folks, all you need to do is just identify. And we're told that trans women are women. When in reality, anybody with a brain in their head knows that they're just men. Yeah, this is crazy, man. And I'm all here for it, guys. They're actually having a meeting on this.
She also thanked team personnel who had responded to media questions on the subject with professionalism.
On this. Honestly, I think they're about to find out what a woman really is. I think they're actually going to put a rule in place and stop the trans invasion from coming into the WNBA. And then they'll look like hypocrites. Yeah, these women's careers, guys, is on the line. Day by day, more men are coming out and saying, yeah, I'm identifying as a woman and I want to play in the WNBA. So
the memo indicated the matter will be taken up further by a task force of team presidents and general managers at a previously scheduled meeting.
Identifying as a woman and I want to play in the WNBA. So let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. Here we go. So right over here, Clay Travis After two former first-round NBA draft picks declared for WNBA draft, the WNBA's commissioner says the league will be meeting to review what a woman is for the purpose of league eligibility. These meetings need to be streamed live. That's must-see TV. Yeah, he goes on.
The renewed attention follows public comments from at least one WNBA player expressing opposition to transgender participation in women's sports, which drew visible reactions from fans, including demonstrations outside league games.
See TV. Yeah, he goes on. Again, the league has only three options now. One, declare two NBA players, not women, meaning they can define what a woman is. Two, let men play. Three, announce only players born as women can play. If they do nothing and refuse to draft the men sue alleging antitrust. Checkmate. That league definition of woman is not specific enough to.
Separately, at least two former NBA players have publicly stated intentions to declare for a future WNBA draft after identifying as transgender, along with reports of interest from at least one additional prospective athlete.
Checkmate. That league definition of woman is not specific enough to exclude men without establishing biology is real and arguing men and women are different. WNBA now has to define what a woman is to establish eligibility criteria. This is a glorious woke mess they have created. Yeah, Gabby Williams, folks. Gabby Williams out there virtue signaling another day. And look at it now. The league is actually going to have a meeting to establish what is.
The league's current eligibility rules do not include detailed language addressing transgender participation, and it remains unclear what specific policy, if any, will result from the upcoming discussions.
What is a woman? And this didn't come from Clay Travis. This is on ESPN, folks. Look at this. Engelbert, WNBA to continue talks about transgender athletes next week. Wow. So when Sophie Cunningham, guys, came out and said that she didn't want males and female sports, it opened up a whole can of worms because you now have people.
Sports commentators and media outlets have offered a range of predictions about how the league might handle the issue, but as of this reporting, no formal policy change has been announced.